Hello everyone. Today I will be talking about lumbar spine history questions. So myself Dr. Sneha Bhatia, MPT in Orthopedics and Sports Rehabilitation, in charge principal athlete Srimati S.G. Patel Institute of Physiotherapy. So before I start with my lecture, I would like to request my audience to please subscribe my channel, press the bell icon to get notified for the next video, and share this channel with your friends. So lumbar spine problems are difficult to diagnose. We have to ask specific question to get specific answers. So we have to ask the patient whether patient is having localized pain or he is having radicular symptoms. For example, the back pain patient will come to the OPD and they will complain that they are having pain in the lumbar region, as well as the pain is radiating down in the posterior aspect of the thigh, posterior aspect of the calf, and also till the sole of the feet. So we have to ask the location of the pain to the patient. So accurate history taking leads to accurate diagnosis. In case of lumbar spine pathology, it is a complex area to treat and to diagnose. So we have to ask specific question to the question, and we should get specific answers, then only we can come to the right diagnosis. So first question we have to ask the patient is, what is the patient's age? Different conditions affect different ages. For example, disc problems affect the people who are aging from 15 to 40 years. Osteoarthritis of the spine can affect the people who are older than 45 years of age. Malignancy can affect the people who are older than 50 years of age, and ankylosing spondylitis can affect the people who are 18 to 45 years of age. So different kind of pathological conditions of the lumbar spine affects different type of age groups. So we have to ask the age of the patient to make the diagnosis. Next is, what is the patient's occupation? So if the patient is involved in any strenuous occupation, or he requires repeated standing postures, he is required in certain activities like cricket. For example, in cricket, bowlers are more prone to get back pain. Athletics, some of the athletic activities can also cause back pain. So we have to ask the patient what is the occupation of the patient. So depending on the occupation of the patient, he will be exposed to certain type of mechanical stresses which will give rise to back pain. That is why asking the patient's occupation, and through that we have to think about the mechanical stresses that is imposed on the spine of the patient. Next question we have to ask is, what is the patient's gender? So high incidence of back pain is there in women. Gynecological condition can also cause back pain in case of women, and mainly this kind of back pain will be localized in the lumbar region. Ankylosing spondylitis is more common in men. Next, we have to ask, what was the mechanism of injury? So if the patient is having any history of trauma, then we have to ask the patient what is the mechanism of injury. For example, lifting, bending, twisting. So force exerted on the disc can be calculated as 10 times the weight being lifted. So they are trying to tell us that if a patient is lifting some amount of force, then the if is lifting some amount of object, then the force that is exerted on the disc is around 10 times higher than the weight being lifted. So we have to ask the patient, when he had the trauma or the injury, what kind of activity he was engaged in, whether it was lifting activity, bending activity, or twisting activity. Next, we have to ask the patient, how long has the problem bothered the patient? There are the back pain, low back pain can be classified into three categories. Acute back pain lasts about 3 to 4 weeks. Subacute back pain lasts up to 12 weeks, and chronic pain is anything longer than 3 months. So this is the normal classification. So we have to ask the patient since how long he is experiencing the symptoms of the low back pain. Next, we have to ask, where are the sites and boundaries of the pain? So location of the pain, we have to ask the patient where is the pain. So we can ask the patient to point out the area or the region where he is feeling pain. So depending on the area of region, whether the patient can have mechanical low back pain or non-mechanical low back pain. So let us see what is mechanical low back pain. Mechanical low back pain, in this case, pain is usually cyclic. Low back pain is often referred to the buttocks and thigh. Morning stiffness or pain is common. The start pain is common, means when starting the movement the patient will feel the pain. There is pain on forward flexion and often also on returning to the erect position. Pain is often produced or aggravated by extension, side flexion, rotation, standing, walking, sitting, and exercise in general. So, activities can aggravate the pain of the patient in case of mechanical low back pain. Pain usually becomes worse over the course of the day. Pain is relieved by the change of position. So, if the patient is sitting for a longer time and then he changes his position, then the pain will be relieved. Pain is relieved by lying down, especially in the fetal position. So these are the criteria for mechanical low back pain. So if the patient is pointing out to any of these points, then we can come to know that the pain that the patient is having is mechanical low back pain. So we have to ask the patient, is there any radiation of the pain? Is the pain centralizing or peripheralizing? Centralization implies the pain is moving towards or is centered in the lumbar spine. So if the pain is only located in the lumbar spine region, then we can say it is centralized type of pain. In case of peripheralization, it implies the pain is being referred or is moving into the limb. So for example, if the patient is having pain in the lumbar region as well as posterior aspect of the thigh and calf muscle until the sole of the feet his pain is radiating, then we can say that the pain that the patient is having peripheralization component. So this is the picture showing the centralization and the peripheralization. So centralization of pain is the progressive retreat of most distant extent or of referred or radicular pain toward the lumbar midline, and peripheralization of pain moves in the opposite direction. So if the pain is only localized in the lumbar region, we can see it is centralization, and if the pain is radiating down from the lumbar region in the thigh aspect as well as the calf until the sole of the feet, then that phenomena is called as peripheralization. Next, we have to ask the patient, is the pain deep, superficial or shooting or burning type or aching type? So there are different types of pain. So by asking the patient what type of pain he is experiencing, that can help us in coming to a proper diagnosis. So questions related to the depth and type or pain often help to locate the structure injured and the source of pain. For example, if the patient is having sharp shooting pain and burning sensation, then neural involvement can be there. So we can say that the nerve root compression can be present if the patient is having burning and shooting type of pain. If it is a deep muscle ache, then we can say that the pathology lies in the muscle itself. Next, we have to ask the patient, is the pain improving or worsening or staying the same? These questions give an indication of whether the condition is settling down and improving. So inflammation phase, it can be in acute phase, okay, or it can be in the healing phase. So by asking the patient whether his condition is improving, whether the pain remains the same or it is worsening, we can come to know whether the patient condition is in inflammatory phase or is in the healing phase. And also in this case, psychological testing also should be done. For example, if the patient complains of more pain than the injury would suggest to occur, in that case psychological testing of the patient also should be done. Next is, we have to ask, is there any increase in pain with coughing, sneezing, deep breathing and laughing? So all of these actions increase the intrathecal pressure, the pressure inside the covering of the spinal cord. So this kind of pain indicates the disc pathology affecting the neurological tissue. So if the patient complains that when he is coughing or he is sneezing and he is deep breathing, he is experiencing the back pain, then that can indicate the disc pathology. Next is, are there any postures or actions that specifically increase or decrease the pain or cause any difficulty? So in case of low back pain, there can be certain postures which are done by the patient which can aggravate the pain or decrease the pain of the patient. For example, somebody who is sitting for a longer period of time, in his case maybe the sitting posture can aggravate his pain. Somebody who is standing for a longer period of time, standing posture for a prolonged period of time can aggravate his pain. So we have to ask specifically whether there are any particular posture, whether it is standing posture, sitting posture or lying posture, that is increasing or decreasing the pain of the patient. So by asking this question, we can come to know that which movement is aggravating the pain of the patient and which movement is relieving the pain of the patient. For example, if the patient is complaining that in standing posture he is experiencing more pain, then we should know that during standing posture the spine is in extension, so we can come to know that the extension movement is painful for the patient. And if in side lying position, if the patient says that my pain is getting relieved in the side lying position, so in side lying position we know that there is flexion movement of the spine, so we can come to know that spinal flexion reduces the pain of the patient. So that is why it is very important to ask what kind of postures are increasing the pain of the patient and what kind of postures are decreasing the pain of the patient. So also we have to ask the patient, is there any particular posture in which posture the pain radiates down the leg. So for example, if patient is complaining that while performing flexion activities of the spine, I am having increased radiation of the pain in the leg as well as in the thigh and the sole of the feet, then we can come to know that flexion movements are radiating the pain. So we should not suggest any exercises which is causing the flexion movement of the spine. So next we have to ask the patient, is the pain worse in morning or evening? Does the pain get better or worse as the day progresses? For example, osteoarthritis of the facet joints leads to morning stiffness, which in turn is relieved by the activity. So we have to ask the patient that patient is experiencing early morning pain or his pain is increased in the evening. So sometimes what happens is, when we are in the lying position during the night and early morning when we get up, if the pathology is in the disc, then it will give rise to early morning pain because the disc will be inflated, and the disc pathology, patient will experience more pain in the morning. In case of evening, suppose if the patient is having increased pain because of the activities that he is performing during the day and the repeated posture. So during the day, if the patient has done repeated standing posture or repetitive sitting activity, then his pain will increase later in the evening. So that is why we have to ask the patient about the pain, whether it is worse in the morning or it is worse in the evening. So which movements hurt, which movements are stiff? So for example, we have to ask the patient whether flexion is increasing the pain or extension is increasing the pain. Sometimes rotation activities also can increase the pain of the patient. So in that case, we have to also check the rotation of the lumbar spine as well as side flexion of the spine. There can be some condition in which even side flexion of the lumbar spine can be painful. So we have to do a complete movement examination. But before we go to the movement examination section, in the history taking itself, we have to ask verbally to the patient which type of movements are increasing the pain of the patient. Next is, we have to ask the patient, is paresthesia or a pins and needles feeling or tingling sensation is present or not. A lack of sensation may be experienced if there is pressure on the nerve root. So if the patient is experiencing paresthesia sensation or pins and needles, or he is having lack of sensation, then we can come to know that there is some neural involvement. So in case of myelopathy, which is a pathological condition, or in case of any neural involvement, or if a nerve trunk is compressed in the spinal region, then also patient can have paresthesia and pins and needles sensation. So the nerve roots are extending from the spinal column. So L5 nerve root, for example, if it is compressed, then it can give rise to the radiating pain as well as the pins and needle sensation. So we have a region, for example, we have the L4 and L5 region. In between the L4 and L5 region, we have the intervertebral disc, and the nerve roots are passing through it. So if the nerve root passing between this region, L4 and L5 region, if it is compressed, the nerve root is getting compressed, then it can give rise to pins and needle sensation. So next, has the patient noticed any weakness or decrease in strength? So this may be due to an injury to the muscle or nerve supply. If the nerve supply to the muscle is damaged, then also weakness of the muscle can develop, or it can be due to reflex inhibition, that is caused by the pain. So if the pain is there, then the pain will cause the reflex inhibition of the muscle. So in that case also the patient may notice any weakness. Next, what is the patient's usual activity or pastime? And before the injury, did the patient modify or perform any unusual, repetitive or high stress activity? So we have to ask the patient what kind of daily activities he is engaged in. So that will help us to determine the cause of injury, and if this kind of activity has caused microtrauma or macrotrauma or combination of both, then we can come to know. Next is, which activities aggravate the pain, and is there anything in the patient lifestyle that increases the pain? So aggravating factor is very important, because by knowing the aggravating factor we can come to know which movements of the lumbar spine are giving pain to the patient. So in our exercise program, when we plan an exercise program for the patient, we should not incorporate any activity which involves the painful movement. For example, if extension movement of the lumbar spine increases the pain of the patient, then we have to make sure that we do not suggest any exercise to the patient which includes extension of the spine. So there are many conditions in which either flexion can be painful or either extension can be painful. In some condition, rotation and side flexion also can be painful. So we have to ask the patient that what kind of specific movement or activity that is aggravating the pain of the patient. Next, we have to ask which activities ease the pain of the patient. So that is about the relieving factor. So there are some positions which will relieve the pain of the patient. So it will help the examiner to understand the anatomy and to determine which tissues would have stress, which would have stress taken off them in pain relieving posture, and this posture may later be used as resting posture during the treatment. So for example, if the patient is having relief of pain in the side lying position or in the supine lying position, then we can advise the patient that when the patient is experiencing severe pain, they can perform the activity or be in a posture which is pain relieving for them. Next is, what is the patient's sleeping position, and is there any problem with sleeping, and what type of mattress patient is using, whether it is hard or soft. So the base sleeping position is in side lying with the legs bent in a semi-fetal position. So if the patient lies prone, the lumbar spine often falls into extension, increasing the stress on the posterior elements of the vertebra. And in supine lying position, the spine tends to flatten out, decreasing the stress on the posterior elements. So base position for lying is in the side lying position with the knees bent. So we can advise proper sleeping position for the patient, because some patients, their sleep will be disturbed when they are experiencing low back pain. In that case, the physiotherapist can advise the patient about the proper sleeping position. Next, we have to ask, does the patient have any difficulty with micturition? So if the patient is having any difficulty with the micturition, the examiner should proceed with caution, because the condition may involve more than the lumbar spine. There can be myelopathy, okay, so neurological pathology can be present if the patient is having problem in micturition. So myelopathy, cauda equina syndrome, Tape's dorsalis, tumor, or even multiple sclerosis can be present. So if a disc derangement is present, then it can cause total urinary retention, and it can cause severe problem to the patient. So we have to ask the patient whether micturition is affected or not. So we have to then ask the patient, is the patient receiving any medication? For example, long term use of steroid therapy can lead to osteoporosis. So we have to ask the patient if he has taken any painkiller medication while we are assessing the patient, because that will also have the impact. Suppose he has just taken the painkiller medication and then he is coming to the OPD, and you ask him about how much is the pain. Out of 10 he would just rate it as 1 or 2, while in reality his pain may be 9 on 10, or it can be even 9 or 8 out of 10. But just because he has taken the painkiller medication, he will be experiencing less pain at that particular moment. That is why it is very important for the physiotherapist to ask the patient if he has taken any medication. Next, is the patient able to cope during daily activities? Does the patient have trouble with work, leisure activity, washing or dressing? So any activities of daily life, whether it is affected or not, patient is able to perform his activities of daily life when he is experiencing low back pain. So that is very important. We have to ask that question. What is the patient's level of disability? So disability implies the effect of the pathology on activity, not pain. So whether the defect, because of the lumbar spine pathology or low back pain, he is not able to perform certain activities. So what is the level? The level of the disability can be classified as mild, moderate and severe. So if the patient is not able to perform any activity, only thing is he can only lie in the bed and he cannot move out of the bed, that much pain is present, then we can say the patient is having severe level of disability. So we have to classify according to the history question. Whatever answers we are getting from the patient, we have to classify it, and we have to classify the disability in mild, moderate or severe disability. So for today's video, I have taken the content from the book Orthopedic Physical Assessment, David Magee. So thank you for watching this video. If you have enjoyed watching this video, then please subscribe to my channel, press the bell icon to get notified for the next video, and share this channel with your